right, let's fire away. It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm ready for it.
I love it.
I'm
It is
so
just
happy things are turning out so well for you. You did so much for the festival, the Donna Reed Festival, and it's great to see, everything paid off, and we were lucky to have you. Thank you.
No, thank you. It still some of the most treasured memories in my life is being a part of that festival and getting to meet you.
Fun. They were great years.
Great years. And it is such a treat to see your face and see that you are doing well. So thank you for your time today. Thank you. All right, let's get into it. It's a Wonderful Life. Can you even believe we're in the 75th anniversary?
Oh, I don't. We were at the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences museum last night, Zuzu and Janie and I, and they had a Q&A beforehand and just talked to us about the movie, and great audience. It was fun being at the new museum. We're celebrating the 75th anniversary of It's a Wonderful Life, and I was celebrating my 60th year as a member of the Academy. So it was a nice time, and I turned 80 this year, so big year.
Right, not a day over 75. Oh, wait a minute. No, you had to be a little bit older than that. Good for you.
Yeah.
Remind everybody, for those new generations that are now getting introduced to this film, your part in the movie and why this movie is still so special even today.
Well, I played Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed's youngest son, Tommy Bailey, in the film. And why is it grown to be so popular? Well, when it first came out, it wasn't a hit movie. It lost $500,000, and it just wasn't what Frank Capra hoped it'd be. It was up for 5 Oscars, but won nothing except a citation 3 for inventing new movie snow. So they weren't shut out altogether. But why is it a hit? And it wasn't a hit back in 1946. Well, and talking to Sheldon Leonard, he played Nick the bartender in the film. We were discussing it, and he said, Jimmy, the film never changed. The people changed. And the people need that message more than ever now. And the message of It's a Wonderful Life is that each man's life touches so many others. If they weren't around, it'll leave an awful hole. It shows that we're all important. We all can make a difference. And people want to feel that they have made a difference. They saw George Bailey. He didn't think he did anything in life until he got to see life as if he had never been born. And it was just all changed. It just shows what one man can do. And Frank Capra, he always said, this is the greatest film I ever made. And in fact, I think it's the greatest film anybody made. And he's right on both points now. It's just starting to go to a place where no movie has ever gone. I don't care if it's Gone with the Wind. You can see that on television anytime. When it shows Christmas Eve on the NBC television network, it's the #1 show on television that night. And here's a film in black and white with all the stars are dead, and yet it just rises to the top. It's just such a great message. It gives us all hope. Frank Capra said, It's a Wonderful Life isn't the way life is, just the way it should be. And it's right. So
I love that. I think we all wish that's how life truly was, and we understood how important we all are to the world around us. Do you, obviously you were very young when you were a part of this film, but do you have memories that stick out from being on set with the people you were around? Anything that really sticks out?
I have vivid memories of getting up real early in the morning, taking streetcars and buses to Culver City for the RKO Path A studios, which was in Culver City. They shot King Kong there and Gone with the Wind and a lot of great films. And then I'd walk onto the stage. And once you entered that stage, those doors, there was a very familiar odor to a sound stage. And it was a great odor. It just had a smell to it that like nothing you've ever smelled. I don't know if somebody off the street got on that stage, would they have that same reaction? I just remember being at MGM in the early 40s when I started, 1943, and that smell was there. And then now I'm in 1966, co-starring with Elvis in a film, and the smell was there, but faded, real faded, like maybe there's something in the walls that over time just wore down. But I just tried to stand there and take it in and try and get that odor back, because it was it invigorated you. It just was something special. And it was fading away. And I'm sure going out there today to MGM, it wouldn't be there at all. That's a shame. But I just loved doing the movie. And I remember walking on that set and all the bright lights, and the Christmas tree was aglow, and people were going about doing their whatever they do. A little 4.5-year-old, that half was a big deal. But then we'd go to wardrobe and get into our little outfit, and then makeup. But kids didn't wear much makeup. You know, you just powder puffed you down. They liked that natural look. And then we'd go and rehearse a scene. Frank Capra would set up the scene. And I remember sitting on Jimmy Stewart's lap, putting tinsel on his head. And he would always give me business to do. We call it business. Always doing something that kids do. When he walked in the front door, I ran over, and Frank Capra said, "Now I want you to go into your daddy's pocket and see if he brought you anything," you know. And then when I said originally I started, I was sitting on Jimmy Stewart's lap, putting tinsel on his head, another piece of business of Frank Capra's. And all of a sudden, in 2 or 3 rehearsals and a few takes, he pulls me into him so fast. I mean, it's such a jerk. And I'm wearing a Santa Claus mask. And the Santa Claus mask would hike up. And the inside of it was like sandpaper. And it kept scratching my cheek. And like I said, we do it, rehearsed it, and then shot it a few times. And I kept asking myself, why does this man keep doing this? You know, and I just hoped they had gotten the take, because I knew enough not to flinch. I knew I had to act, even at 4.5, like this is the first time you did it. This is the first time he pulled you to him. And I knew that. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew I had to not flinch and go, oh, here it comes. So that's a very vivid memory. And then when we walked from the living room going towards the kitchen, all of a sudden he told everybody stop. Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, the other kid, and he squatted down to me. He says, "See where we're standing right here? See the rug?" And yes, sir, I see that. Okay, now I want you to keep pulling on this man's coattail. But when you get right here in this position, I want you to say, "Excuse me." You understand? I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, remember right here, excuse me." "Yeah, yes, sir." So, okay, everybody, keep walking. So then they rehearsed the next little thing. It was maybe not even 10 seconds. And then he'd tell everybody stop. Then he'd squat down again and tell me the same thing. Then he said, "Okay, resume the action." And everybody was looking at the thing because the lighting people had to light shortly and see where everybody was. And then we go to the kitchen, and then I keep pulling on his coattail saying, "Excuse me," one more time. And he said, "Say it right here." "Yes, sir." "Okay." Then you say, when they ask you, "What, excuse you for what?" Then you tell them, "I burped." And I thought, okay. So that was done. And then we shot the film. And it was funny because the second, excuse me, when I hit the spot, I knew I hit the spot and I didn't say it. And I waited a beat, and the other boy picked up his cue right away and said his line. And then I kind of lazily said, excuse me, knowing when I'm there, that little 4.5-year-old, what's going through his mind is, I didn't do it right. I should have said it right there. That's what I was thinking. Then I went to the next one. I said, I got to get this next one at the door right. And I said it again. So now we flash forward 30, 40 years, and Frank Capra and I are at the Motion Picture Academy to see his film. It was called A Director's Choice. And when Frank Capra was there, he chose to show It's a Wonderful Life. So we were talking, and I said, you know, Mr. Capra, you told me to say this 2, 3 times. And on the second time, I didn't say it right away exactly when I should have. Why didn't you yell cut and let's do it again? He said, because it felt natural. I said, oh, okay. But that, it bothered me. A little 4.5-year-old, you think, man, what does he think? You don't remember what you think, you're thinking, but I was thinking exactly what I shared with you.
You were such a little professional.
Well, apparently I had something. I had done pictures before with Spencer Tracy, and Lana Turner was my mom in another film. And yeah, I'd done this before. So I don't know, some instinct. That's all. That's all I know.
You were you were a very mature 4.5-year-old. That was
but it was great experience.
Yeah,
sure.
Do you remember anything about the leads? Like, I know you mentioned you remember sitting on Jimmy Stewart's lap, but do you remember anything like about Donna Reed, how she treated everyone on set and what that was like?
Well, we did a scene where our daddy goes berserk. He starts kicking over his past, all the bridges he had wanted to build. He's just destroying everything. And we were shocked by this. And then Donna Reed pulls me towards her, and she put her hand on my cheek. And now we're going to flash forward to 1984, Christmas. I'm at her house. She was, apparently, she was dying, and she had no energy and very jaundiced. But I told her in the hospital, I'm going to come over to your house on Christmas Day because I got something for you I think you might like. So they had made an ornament for the Christmas tree. So I showed it to her. I said, look, a Bailey family on this Christmas ornament. Where do you want me to put it on the tree? So I walked over here. Oh, right there, Jimmy. There. Okay. So I hung it there. And then I could see she was extremely tired. So I just said, well, I got to go, but I'll be back. I'll see you again. And when I leaned down to touch her, she put her hand on my cheek again. And that took me back to that moment. I said, oh, this is that same lady that touched me like that. Oh, wow. And that really was a real nice moment. And then I had to leave. I turned around. I said, oh, goodbye now. And that's the last I ever saw her. But she was a great lady. Always, I would have lunch with her after we finished the show. And she was very kind to actors. If I came up with some business of my own, something I thought, well, I think this character would do this in the scene or do that, she would always love it. She would just let me do whatever I wanted because it worked between us and scenes. I did the very first Donna Reed show ever made. And they were looking for a boyfriend for Shelley Fabre. And so I went in and read for the part, and I got the part. And so we were getting ready to sit around the table to read the show so the writers could hear it and see what's working, what's not working. And I saw Donna Reed at the other end of the table. So I went down the table and I said, excuse me, Miss Reed, my name is Jimmy Hawkins. I played your son, Tommy Bailey, in It's a Wonderful Life. Oh, she said, oh, yes, I know. They told me that they signed you for this. She said, you know what we called you on the set of It's a Wonderful Life? I said, oh, what? She said, Rip Van Winkle. I said, Rip Van Winkle? Why was that? She said, well, it was so cute that all the commotion going on and the hot lights, apparently you would fall asleep. And you'd fall asleep all the time. They were lighting and doing stuff. And then we'd wake you up to do the scene, and you were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but we all go, look, that's Rip Van Winkle. He sleeps everywhere. It doesn't make any difference. So I thought, wow, isn't that something? 10, 12 years ago, I did this part for 10, 12 days with this lady, and she remembered that. She remembered me. Wow, that's great. And 8 years later, I was still doing the show. And she's just the best. I can't say anything negative about her. She was always, in fact, when we had the wrap party at the end of the show, the last episode, Paul Peterson and I walked into the living room with Donna, and we sat down, started talking, and then Paul just poured out his heart to her and to me, because I was there. I was like a fly on the wall, just listening to him talk to her and share all his memories of being on that show, growing up on 8 years, and telling her what a great woman she was. She was like a second mother to him, and it was a great experience. And then it was time to go. So she had gotten some flowers and little gifts from people. So I walked out the stage door and through wardrobe onto the street, and her car was waiting there for her. And we loaded up the car, and I walked her and opened up her door to her, and she started the car, and I locked the door from like outside, and she drove away, and that was the end of the show. That was the last memory I have of doing the show, was saying goodbye to her, driving away to her home. And she was just a kind lady, just the best. That's why Shelley and Paul and I joined forces and started the Donna Reed Foundation and this festival. They had given her, Paul and Shelley had gone back to Dennis, Iowa to give the town her Oscar to put on display. And then they had such a good time, the town asked Shelley and Paul, well, why can't you come back? Why don't you figure out something that we could do here in the memory of Donna Reed? So one day Shelley called and said, we're gonna have a meeting over at Donna's house. Can you make it? And so we all got together and discussed it and came up with some sort of an idea what the festival would be. And then we went back there, and there were more of us on stage than there were in the theater to listen to what is this plan? What is it? What are you going to do? And that started the festival. And we all went back to our home and started rounding up friends, because we wanted the students that came to our classes to learn how to be prepared to actually do it. You can listen to your teachers and instructors at school and theater arts class, but this is the real deal. We brought the real people to show you how you have to be prepared when you walk into their office. And that was our whole concept. And that's the way we did things. We added somebody to a class. We heard kids wanted to learn how to write a song. So we brought in great songwriters like L. Russell Brown, who wrote Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. And he was there to instruct them how to. And that's the way we did it in every class. Big directors, big writers, and to share their knowledge of how you better be prepared. Learn whatever you learn in school. We're not telling the teachers how to teach you. This is what the end result has to be, though. That was it. So.
And you taught us so much more. Yeah.
That's while we met, and you were an award winner, got a scholarship, and all the stuff that Donna Reed Foundation and Festival gave the opportunity, and you were a shining example. You went out and you did it. You didn't talk about it, you did it. And here we are talking today, and it's a pleasure. So gone, full circle.
Full circle, such an honor. You have no idea how much you taught us, yes, about the business, but about life in general and being prepared and being present. And most importantly to me, creating lifelong friends. So I can't thank you enough, Jimmy. Before we leave, because I know Zoom's going to kick us off because we could talk forever about this. One final thought about It's a Wonderful Life. If there's one thing, one takeaway about this movie, what would that be from you?
Well, it's probably the afterlife of what we were doing in It's a Wonderful Life. And Carolyn Grimes, who played Zuzu, and Carol Coombs, who played Janie, and I would go on tours. Our first one was with Target Company, and that was a big deal. We'd go to the different towns where Target stores were. We'd do the daily shows, and then we'd go out to the Target stores to meet the people. Then Walgreens came into it, and then we, all the wonderful things we did, we rang the bell at Stock Exchange in New York. That was a big thing. All these high rollers, oh, the Bailey kids. They always called us the Bailey kids, a bunch of 70, 80-year-olds come walking in, and we always got a kick out of that. Then, of course, we've gone to the Motion Picture Academy for the 70th anniversary, and then last night, the 75th. And that was quite a thrill for all of us to share our stories with them.